go.
All right, Chad, we are rolling.
Appreciate it.
Chad Robinson, mortgage broker. What we're going to do today, we're going to talk about all sorts of things: banks versus brokers, advice, investors, real estate, where we're at right now with the whole pandemic. So, Chad, welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about what you do and who you are.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Mitch, for having me on the show. It's a real honor to be here. So really, I'm a mortgage broker. I'm also a father of four. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a real estate investor. And basically, I live, eat, and breathe real estate all day, every day. Since pretty much the day I was born, our whole family's in real estate. So any real estate questions you or your listeners have, feel free to throw them at me, email me. All of our contact information will be, you can get it at the end of the show, and we're happy to help. Happy to help that. So your question is, what does a mortgage broker do, right? What do we actually do? How do we help clients? So really, our job as a mortgage broker is to help our clients search the entire industry, really, of what's the best rate and what's the best product for the client. A lot of times people don't realize, they all focus on rate all the time. Hey, Chad, what's your best rate? But they're not asking the right question. It's sort of like, what's the price of a red car? It could be anything, but then you dig a little bit deeper and you're like, what are you really looking for? Do you need something with flexibility? Are you going to pay it off in 2 months? Are you going to pay it off in 7 years? So we really focus in on that and find out our clients' needs, and then produce the best product, which is overall the least cost effective,
Right.
the most cost effective for the client.
Right. And so I wanted to get into that a little bit about, comparing banks and brokers.
Yeah.
Because surely they are different. I've done both myself personally, and so I've seen both sides. First of all, let's start explaining what the advantages and disadvantages are to going with a bank or a broker.
Absolutely. We're definitely different. A lot of times the bank representatives, and not in all cases, but in most cases, the people that work for the bank are awesome people, but they're limited on the scope of what they can provide because they're limited to that institution's products. So if somebody works for RBC, they can only sell RBC products. They can't sell Scotiabanks or TD Banks or Tangerine or anybody else. So a client will come in and say, I want to get this mortgage or do this thing. And they say, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we can't approve you because of your credit or your income, or we don't do that kind of mortgage. So the customers leave thinking, they feel defeated. They feel that, we're not worthy because this bank turned us down. So on a broker side, we have a lot more options because we work with many, many lenders. So TD1, Scotia, Desjardins, a whole bunch of credit unions, there are 30, 40 other lenders that we kind of help pick. It's like that old operator back from the 1940s with the wires that you put through. That's kind
Party
of
line.
Yeah, so we help give our clients those options where a lot of branches can't. Now, occasionally branches have a few products we don't have, and we're the first to say, you know what you're getting from your bank, or we can help you go here, because not everybody can do everything.
Yeah, true enough. So like I said, I've done both sides, and what I got, like this time here, the last time I did it with a broker, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, the experience was sort of like you said, I didn't feel defeated.
Mm-hmm.
There was like, okay, well, this one here, I don't know, it's not going to work out. The rate is too high, but you know what? It was something like, if you pay off your credit card, we can actually get this rate with this bank. And I just love that. I was like, great, someone who's like creative. That's what it felt like. Somebody who can just see everything from a 360-degree perspective and find the best option that's just suited perfectly for me, right?
Absolutely.
I thought that was really cool. Now, so in terms of from a broker perspective, what types of options do you have to offer that maybe banks wouldn't, but even if banks don't, what kind of options do you offer to your clients?
For sure. Well, clients generally are falling into, one or two or maybe three potential categories. So you get your A clients. These are clients that have great credit, great jobs, those type of things. They qualify for almost all products. Typically, those are with main institutions. Your TDs, your Scotias, that kind of thing. So we can give lines of credits or fixed mortgages, variable mortgages, and those things. The things that the branches can't offer is once you cross out of that, perfect kind of client, somebody has a bit of bruised credit, or their employment's a bit unstable, or you're self-employed and you're not declaring all your money on the net, your net income. A lot of banks don't have any options for that. And on the broker side, we have a ton of options. Some of our lenders will allow us to use the gross revenue of a business to qualify clients instead of your net income on your personal side. We have some products with doctors that say, oh, you're just graduating your second year residence. You've only made X dollars, but we can kind of assume you're going to make 300,000. So really on the income and credit side, we have a lot more options that institutions individually typically don't.
So as a broker, I'm just curious, for me personally, and who knows for people who are watching now,
Yeah.
Do you only deal with banks? Are you able to do private lending?
Absolutely. So we do. So that's the third bucket. So clients that are very challenged, whether it's on income or credit, or sometimes they just don't want to be bothered. I have some clients that are high net worth individuals, and they just do not want to be bothered with the banks because they're just annoyed. We actually put the clients out with private lenders, a little bit of higher rates. There's some fees involved, but it's usually way easier. And then we also represent investors on the other side. So people that are looking to lend their money. We're constantly interviewing investors and deploying their capital, whether it's in their RSPs or whether they're line of credit or cash, into good investments.
Right. A good friend of mine did private lending for this move that is coming up probably in a couple of weeks, I think. Yeah. And he's doing private lending for 1 year, just because he's considered unemployed because he's non-essential at this point. So the banks will not even look at him.
Right.
So he's going to do private lending for 1 year. And I was shocked by the rate. It was really low for private lending. It was like 6%.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's, we have one lender that's, we can even go down as low as 5. It really depends on the client's overall picture, right? If somebody's been double bankrupt and they're unemployed and they've missed their payments, then they're definitely not getting the lower rates. And so we can get, decent rates. But what really mortgage brokers are about providing, at least my shop is we provide solutions. Of course we get good interest rates and we get the best thing we can, but we're a solution provider.
Right, like a service provider, you're going like, we do this now, but you're looking at a long-term picture. You're looking at the demographic of the person, where they're at financially, where they want to be in 1, 2, 5 years from now, right? That's what you mean by solution.
You got it.
So all you do is mortgages. So you're the expert. You're what we call the guru.
That's it.
Mortgages.
Mortgages. Cool. That's the only product we offer.
Very, very cool. Now, in this time of lockdown, in isolation, we can't leave the house. I've gotten good news, though, that we're going to be able to go to parks and things like that. Right. Now, however, with COVID, you must have received a lot of calls and people who are either strapped for cash or, who knows, maybe discovered that the partner they're with maybe is not the right person for them because they've had so much time together. Are you seeing a lot of this stuff COVID related, or is it just regular business as usual?
Well, a little bit of both. So we're seeing a lot of clients getting ready to take care of an opportunity when it comes up, whether that's buying stock shares in the stock market or the real estate. So they're refinancing their homes, they're taking equity out, and they're getting lines of credits, getting ready for an opportunity. That's one bucket. The other set of clients are struggling. They've lost their job, their businesses are struggling, even with these government reliefs, or they can't access the government relief programs for whatever reason. And they're looking to tap into their equity in their properties to get them through this time and come out the other end. So we have some very special products specifically for COVID clients, and a couple lenders have come out with it where they're not offering any, you don't have to make any payments for a year. You can get the money, you pay the fee, and then you pay it back in a year from now with the interest.
So if you want to pay it within the year,
you can just pay it off anytime. With however much interest you've accumulated.
Yeah, what worries me about that is that some people will just, end up in long-term debt. Yeah. That's something that would concern me. Yeah. But I mean, it's the worst case scenario, the option is there, right?
Absolutely. It really comes back to control. And one of the things I've always trained all my staff to do is really talk to the client about exit planning. These mortgages, whether they're B mortgages or private mortgages or these special COVID kind of items, it's a short-term strategy. So how are you getting out of it? You can't sustain a higher interest rate mortgage. It's just not feasible. So are you going to wait till you get your job back and then refinance? Okay, great. Are you going to want to get this so that you can sell the property on your time? Or maybe you need to do a couple renovations before you sell it. Great. list the home in July and August when it's not, in lockdown. Those kind of solutions, we ask those questions and want to make sure the customers have that plan.
Yeah, that's really good. See, I recall the time with the bank, and it was just sort of like, give me your T4 and give me your all this stuff, and then you get a call and it's like, your mortgage is ready, come sign it. Didn't feel very personal, right? It was sort of just sign with us because we want your money.
Absolutely.
Now you work with investors, like you said, investors that want to buy stock, so get money, maybe equity out of their house to invest more, maybe in real estate, right? And to get a second property and whatnot, and rent out the one they're staying in, vice versa. Who are those clients?
So those clients are, especially where we are in Ottawa, there's a lot of investors that, they bought their first condo and they're looking to move up into a little bit bigger house. So they want to refinance, take some equity out, and then go buy their next home. Or they already own a couple properties and they want to buy another duplex or triplex. I've grown up in the real estate business and owning investment properties. So, like minds think alike. And so I've always helped investors maximize their portfolio, whether that's to buy one unit, their very first unit, or they're buying a 30-unit apartment building. My staff can help them from the whole gamut.
That's great. Advice stuff. Well, I'm just going to give you a scenario and put it out there. So a guy like me, actually, I'm coming to you from my condo right now.
Yeah.
I bought it 9 years ago thinking I was going to rent it out. And so it is almost paid off. And we want to move into a home. I want to get my house back. I moved from a house to a condo, and I'm going back to a house because I like the space. Yeah. Any advice on someone like me who's in this situation who wants to keep the condo in terms of how to go about it?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, once we finish doing an application and getting all your income numbers and all that stuff, I would look at refinancing the current condo with a line of credit as high as we can go, up to 80% loan to value. There's some rules there that we can really get into the details of each individual there, but effectively give you the option to accessing as much equity as you can. That gets you set up to put an offer in on a new house because cash is king and you want to be able to action things quickly. So you want to be able to walk in and write a big down payment check or a big deposit check, or even depending on how big your line of credit could be, maybe just pay for the whole house outright with cash. And then you rent out the condo. Once you've done that, you rent out the condo and convert that line of credit mortgage into a regular mortgage, because the rates on mortgages are cheaper than lines of credits. So lines of credits right now are, prime, which is 2.45, or even prime plus a half. So you're running around 3%, where variable mortgages might be 2.2% today, maybe even potentially less. So there's definitely a discrepancy there that you'd want to not just sit on a line of credit for long term. It's great short term, but not long term. But the key to that strategy, it sounds a little bit complex, but it's kind of simple, is assuming that. So this is where the analysis comes in. Assuming that we've maxed out your condo and you've rented it for what X number, whatever you think you can get for your condo, what then can you buy? So that's where a whole bunch of what if analysis comes in, and that's where we really shine. Is we're like, okay, what happens if your condo rents for $1,500 versus $2,000 or $3,000, and what happens if we drop the mortgage a little bit and put more money over here? So there's a whole bunch of what if scenarios that we play to tell you, okay, go buy that $600, $800 million home or whatever it is.
Right, good point. So in my situation, I would think that what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I hear you saying is don't go out and put an offer on a house until you sort this side out.
Absolutely. And not just that, is we sort this stuff out to a really high degree where we've gotten all of your documentation, all of your tax bills, all of your employment letters. We've got every bit of paperwork scrapped in there. That we don't just assume your rate is going to be X or your income is Y. We've gotten employment letters where people say, yeah, I'm full-time in the government. Yeah, I've been there for 7 years, and they're temporary employees. And like, wow, that's a very different underwriting than if you're permanent full-time. So those kind of things are really key to get up front.
Right. Wow. That's funny that you say that, because that's actually how I got my first mortgage. I was young. I was a contractor.
Yeah.
Consultant in government. And I had the director or whatever from the department write a letter saying I'm employed and I've been here. It wasn't employed full time. I think it was worded sort of like it's this person's employed here and he's been with us for 3 years and stuff like that. Like I consulted with them for 5 years.
Yeah.
And it was accepted. You know, I don't know if it would be that way. If it would work like that today, because I did a legitimate mortgage at this time. Not that it wasn't, but
what's happening, and I start almost every application like this, especially during this COVID crisis, with any of our clients, to say the experience you might have had with a mortgage 6 months, a year, even 2 years ago is drastically different. They're asking a lot more paperwork. And even files we had approved 2 months ago, they're now phoning up and say, are they still employed? What's your paycheck? Send me your pay stub from last week. Even though you have one 2 months ago, there's a lot more questions. So people say, why are they being so mean to me? And so I'm really telling, and I'm happy to share this to your listeners, is guys, it is not you. The banks are scrutinizing everyone right down to their DNA profile pretty much now. So be prepared for it. It's just more paperwork, really.
Yeah, no, I gather that myself. I know. I remember a year ago or a couple of years ago, I forget, but all the rules changed and there was discussion about it all over the place, and I didn't follow it, to be honest, because I just wasn't in a position to look at anything at the point at that time. But definitely, you are a wealth of knowledge, man. I love it. Now, you also have a podcast.
I do.
And you have an audio version. You have a video version also. What's your podcast about? Give us the name.
Perfect. So the podcast is called The Practical Broker. It's on all the major platforms, as well as YouTube on the video side. And the goal of the podcast is really to give practical advice that people can action right away. So we've interviewed 2 family law lawyers, actually, in our previous conversation about there might be a lot of divorces happening. So I would, if anybody's in that situation, check out the podcast. Those episodes are phenomenal. We've interviewed architects, financial planners, realtors. We have some marketing people coming up. Matt is on there as well, coming up next week. Just some great tips that people can action in their daily lives.
Cool. So who are you looking for? Who do you want on your show?
As a wish list so in the future guests, right now, if you're a small business owner, in Canada, especially even Ontario, I'm happy to talk to you. I want to really help promote small businesses and find out how what are they doing to promote their business and get through this, so that we can all give advice to each other and make it out the other end in a really positive way.
Right. So you're not just really looking specifically for people that would relate to a mortgage industry, like a insurance specialist or anything like that. You're really looking for entrepreneurs all over the place, or business owners.
Absolutely. As long as it's practical advice that we can action, that's the real fundamental key of the show.
Sounds good to me. Awesome. Chad, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. Now, if you could tell us, how can people find you?
Perfect. So you can find us for the mortgage business at www.bestinterest.ca. That's bestinterest.ca. Our email is mortgages@bestinterest.ca. And our phone number is 613-590-7100.
Awesome. And if you are on social media, you will undoubtedly see Chad.
Yeah, I hope so. We're trying.
He's there. I had my eyeballs on you for a while. I was like, who is that guy? He's all over the place. And That's here great. We are. So again, Chad, I really want to thank you for coming on the show.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.